Today we are going to be looking at multiplying and dividing decimals. So the first thing we're going to do is look at multiplying. So the steps we are going to do is we are going to ignore the decimal places and just multiply like we would. Then we count to see how many total digits are on the right side of the decimal point, and we moved our final answer's decimal all the way over that many spots. So let's look at some examples. We have 2.8 times 7. So we are going to multiply without the decimals. So we're going to do 28 times 7. So we do 8 times 7, and that is 56. Then 7 times 2 plus 5 is 19. So we multiplied without our decimal. Now we go over how many decimals do we have? We have one decimal place. So that means we have to move our decimal one place in our answer. So our decimal is located right at the end of our number. So we have to move it one place to the left. So our answer is 19.6. Let's look at another example. We have 3.1 times 5.9. Ignore the decimals and just multiply. So 31 times 59. So we do 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 3, 27. Now we go to our 5. To go to the tens place, we have to drop our placeholder. So do 5 times 1, which is 5. And then 5 times 3, which is 15. And then we add straight down. We get 9, 12, 8, and 1. Now we go and look how many decimals we have. We have 1, 2. So we have to move our decimal 2 places. So our decimal's at the end. Move it 1, 2. So our answer is 18.29. I want you to try the last one here. Pause the video and then come back and check your work. So let's look to see how we did. Ignore the decimals. We have 235 times 78. We do 8 times 5, which is 40. 8 times 3, which is 24. Add 4, so we get 28. Then 8 times 2, 16 plus 2, 18. I cross out and redo it. So now we go to the 7. We drop a 0 and multiply. 7 times 5 is 35. 3. 7 times 3, 21 plus 3 is 24. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 2 is 16. Then we add straight down. Okay, and you should get 18,330 But now we go back to our answer. So we have, let me change the color. We moved it 2 places, and then this one gets moved 1 place. So we have a total of 3 places we have to move our decimal. So our answer, we go, move it 3, 1, 2, 3, and we get 18.33. So we can add a 0 on, since it's part of our answer, or you could leave it without the 0. So either answer is correct. Now let's look at dividing decimals. So there's 2 types of problems we're going to look at. We're going to look at dividing by a whole number and then dividing by a decimal. So we're going to do the problem 2.35 divided by 5. Our first number we put inside our division, and our 5 goes on the outside. We set it up just like we would do regular division. The only thing is our decimal point, we have to move it straight up and then divide like normal. So we do, how many times does 5 go into 2? And it doesn't. So then we take it 5 into 23. And 5 goes into 23 4 times. That's a little darker. Then we multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract, and we get 3. Then we bring down our 5 and do the process all over again. How many times does 5 go into 35? And 5 goes into 35 7 times. A little darker. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract, and we get 0. So our answer is 0.47. Let's look at another example. We're dividing 73.59, dividing it by 2. So 73.59 divided by 2. Before you begin, make sure you move your decimal point up, right above. And now divide. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 3. 2 goes into 13. 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. We subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 5. 2 goes into 15. 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. Subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 9. 2 goes into 19. 9 times 2 is 18. We subtract, we get 1. We do not want to write a remainder when we're dealing with a decimal. So what we're going to do is just add on a placeholder of a 0. And then just bring down that 0. Now we can do 2 goes into 10. 5 times 2 is 10. And we get 0. So our answer is 36.795 when we divide. So that's when we're dividing by a whole number. Now we're going to have to look at it when we're dividing by a decimal. So it's going to be the same process, but we have to do one step first. We want to make what we're dividing by, this decimal, a whole number. So we can move this decimal point 1 place to the right, And when we move it one place to the right, we have to move the other decimal one place too. So then we have a whole number, 5 instead of 0.5 since we moved it, and then we move the decimal to between the 8 and the 5 in this problem. So instead of having 6.85 divided by 0.5, we're dividing 68.5 by 5. So now let's go in and do that. Now we just bring up the decimal in the new spot and divide like normal. 5 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 8. 5 goes into 18. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract, and we get 3. Then we bring down the 5. 5 goes into 35. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract and get 0. So our problem 6.85 divided by 0.5 is equal to 13.7. So if we move the decimal in the beginning, the answer we get is our answer. We do not have to worry about the decimal anymore. So let's look at one more. We have 7.5 divided by 0.25. So this number here, we need to have as a whole number. So we have to move the decimal 2 places to the right. That means we have to move this decimal 2 places to the right. So we have 25 on the outside because it's a whole number now, and we have 7.5. But we have to move this 2 places. 1, 2 has a placeholder 0, so our new decimal is after. Move him straight up. So truly we're taking 750 and dividing it by 25. So we have 2 digits that we're dividing by. Take these 2 digits and take it to the next 2 digits. So how many times does 25 go into 75? Think of quarters. If we count by 25 or quarters, it takes 3 quarters to get to 75. So 3 times 25 is 75. We subtract and we get 0. We have to always bring down, no matter if you end up with a 0. So now we have 25 going into 0. It goes in 0 times. 0 times 25 is 0, and we subtract, and we get 0. Since we don't bring down anything, we stop here. But the step before, we had to bring down the 0 and do one more times through. So 7.5 divided by 0.25 gives us 30. So this is how you multiply and divide decimals. Please reach out if you have any questions at all.